Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a little while, but I did a thing yesterday, 2 days ago, that I figured would be very handy to pass along. I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. And it has to do with finding the volume of a 3D object in ZBrush. And I'll show how to do it in Fusion as well. It's easier in Fusion, but um, it's a thing that they use a lot for figuring out the material you would use for doing the 3D print. Figuring out the volume, or maybe figuring out how much metal you're going to use if you're machining something. But I never considered using it for mold making and casting, which I don't know why, because it's super handy, especially if you were 3D printing the molds for a part and you need to know how much silicone to use or how much material to use for the said part, etc. This is a very, very handy thing. So, the project I was just working on the other day was a very odd shaped item about this big with a cutaway in the inside. So the mold had a top and then it had a bottom with a core that would punch out like a section of the inside. I can't show it yet. Once I can, I'll post a video and reference back to this video. But the whole thing had to be made out of a flexible foam, like a self-skinning foam. So I was like, okay, how much of this material do I need to make this thing? And I don't have a ton of material to experiment with, so if I'm wrong, if I don't put enough in, especially with expanding foam, if it expands and you get a bubble somewhere, it's very hard to fix it. Or if you do too much, then you just waste a ton of this material, which is not cheap. So I was trying to figure out the best way to estimate the size of this part so I could figure out the volume. And then I remembered that ZBrush has a plugin that will do that. So let's go to ZBrush here really quick. Let's put this down, me in the corner. Yay, hi. Go over here to ZBrush. And I made this just as a demo. So this kind of represents what the part would be like. Obviously, this is really simple. This is much more simplified. This would be actually easier to figure out to just do the math if you know the size. But anyway, the part would look like this. I'm going to turn this off, and then we've got the mold. Let's say this is the top of the mold, and then we've got the bottom of the mold with the core. So this little guy would punch out this hole on the inside, and then this would be the top. And these would close like that, and you'd have your pieces here. I can turn this on. Now there should be a little part line here so you can see the halves, but oh, I see what I did. There we go. There we go. So this would be kind of the inside of the mold, and then that cavity is where the part would be formed, which would be our little red piece here. So anyway, let's get to it. The part that I need to make need to be made out of foam. Needed the volume so I could figure out how much foam to use. If you go to the Z plugin here in the 3D print hub right here, down here there's a check mesh volume. And you can do it by inch or by millimeters, and you can see this is just generic. So it gives you the volume in millimeters here. You can change it to inches, like I said, but it gives you the volume. So if you've properly modeled this with the correct scale, this should give you a volume that's accurate. Now, if it seems strange, you can go in here and check these settings. Like if I change this to inch, it's going to say, the extents of this subtool are like 4 by 7 inches. So if I check mesh volume, there you go, 4 cubic inches. So it was really handy. So from that, you can go find, there's calculators that can tell you how much volume equals how much of a specific casting resin or silicone. So this is great if you need to make a mother mold. God, I wish I had the 3PO foot file still that I did a long time ago. I was breaking up a file, made a mold whole thing. That would have been a great example for this. But if you need to calculate the silicone that you're going to pour into the mold, and you've 3D printed the part in the mother mold, then you can go to the Smooth-On materials calculator and get the casting estimator and pick whatever material that you bought from them. Let's say we're going to use like Mold Star. They've probably have it in here somewhere. One of their silicones. So a lot of these silicones are really similar as far as the amount of volume. Let's see, Flex Foam. We'll just do Dragon Skin because that's close. and you can show the results in weight, calculate, and it gives you a measurement there, so you can weigh it out and get the correct amount of material for your object. So model volume, you do the same thing here, just put 5 inches, and you can calculate like the volume of the mother mold, all this stuff, and it figures out how much of these materials you'll need. I was working with an expanding foam, like I said, so I had to figure out for mine the mass of the volume of the entire object. Then I had to find out how much the foam that I was using was going to expand, and basically divide that with the amount of expansion to figure out the actual volume of the unexpanded foam so I could get my mix. Sounds crazy. It wasn't too bad. BJB, which is the material that I used for this current project, has an example photo showing how much their foam expands, and it kind of, marks how many times it expands. And I was using 4-pound foam, which expands 10 to 12 times. So I divided by the lower end in case it didn't expand as much, and basically figured out the volume of the unexpanded foam, transferred the cubic inches of that over to milliliters so I could figure out how much to put in a cup, because the graduated cups only go so high. Then I weighed that and then figure out the weight from there. It's a whole process, which I will go into once I can show that project, but I can't yet. Anyway, so that long-winded nonsense. But go back to Fusion 360. We're going to look at this stand that I made a while back, and just grab one of these pieces here. So like if I select this part here, if you go to Properties, there we go. Oops, nope, not that one. I just missed it because I'm trying too fast. Properties. If I go to Properties, right there, Volume, it gives you the volume of the part. And again, you can control your units if you want to use, centimeters, millimeters, etc. I'm using inches right now, and you can see the volume right there. So if I wanted to cast this part, I would know that I would need that much volume worth of resin, and then I could go to that calculator and figure it out. Real quick, if you guys want to see this stand, where this ended up, it's a little aside, but I did this for Prop Store for one of the Misty Knight arms from the show Luke Cage, the Marvel show. And I'm pretty proud of how this stand came out. I think it looks very, very classy, and it holds their little arm up. And I got to make a few more of these because they have the stunt versions of these arms too that I need to put on display. That's why I have this file open. Anyway, let me get out of here before I ramble too much longer. Me full screen, that's me. I'm back. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too confusing and sort of useful. I can't believe I didn't think to use it sooner for doing this molding casting thing. And the mold that I just made was very similar to the one I showed in Zbrush, where because I was using a flexible foam, I didn't need a silicone mold. I just printed the shell, and I printed the core in the bottom, and I basically just coated it with wax and then mold release so that nothing would stick to it, and then did the self-expanding foam, and the pieces come right out. So very, very handy. Just printed mold. I didn't have to make a part and then cast it and do all this. I just printed the mold, and it saved me a ton of time, and it was very cheap to do. So anyway, I got to get out of here. I'll be back soon with all kinds of weird updates, and yeah, it'll be good. Also, I was on the Rex and Around podcast last weekend, and it was quite fun, and I had a lot of people say, man, I wish you got to talk more. So if you guys want to hear questions similar to what they're asking there, or have want me to tell stories, let me know, because I have a bunch, but I'm not good at just popping them up here unsolicited. So anyway, that's enough of this. I'm getting out of here before I go much further. Have fun. Talk to you guys soon. Bye!